California, Mr. Nunes, who will be responding remotely. Mr. Nunes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time. The Democrats have summoned us here for the next several days to discuss a bill that still doesn't have many details other than its astronomical price tag. In fact, the Democrats can't even accurately explain the basic nature of this bill. They used to call it an infrastructure bill, but it has nothing to do with infrastructure, which was the subject of a separate trillion-dollar spending bill just weeks ago. They've now begun explaining it with ridiculous euphemisms, including soft infrastructure and human infrastructure, terms, quite frankly, I've never heard before. If this is a good, necessary bill that will solve problems, you have to wonder why the Democrats need to assault the English language just to describe it. It's hard to discuss the content of an unfinished bill that will eventually incorporate initiatives from 12 other committees, but that is indicative of the bizarre procedural violations the Democrats are relying on to pass this monstrosity. So we're forced, to a large extent, to rely on public statements of Democrats to divine what this bill will ultimately do. And it's clear that this will be a $3.5 trillion left-wing spending orgy designed to vastly increase the American people's dependence on government. The Democrats want to create a cradle-to-grave entitlement system that will empower the government at the expense of American citizens, families, our economy, and our basic freedoms. It will be economically devastating and fiscally ruinous, and trillions of dollars will be wasted and misspent as the Democrats seek to fundamentally remake America's social contract. There will be elements of the utopian Green Deal in the final bill that will continue to punish the energy companies that actually power our economy, our cars, and our homes, while further increasing subsidies for alternative energy schemes that never worked. There will be punitive measures against the kind of drug manufacturers that developed COVID vaccines in less than a year. There will be more incentives for people not to work at a time when more than 8 million Americans remain unemployed, while we are nearly at 11 million job openings from just yesterday's numbers. And of course, there will be devastating tax hikes for everyone, falsely pitched as only affecting rich people and corporations, that will drive our companies, jobs, and wealth overseas, what I would describe as a monumental act of self-sabotage. Democrats sell these policies with thinly veiled appeals to class warfare. We need to spend $3.5 trillion to fight inequality, we're told, or to make the rich pay their fair share. But it's the poor and the middle class who will bear the brunt of these misguided policies. It's working families, not the rich, who will be hit hardest by the skyrocketing inflation this spending spree will cause and has already caused. It's working families who have to cut back on vacations and family trips due to higher energy prices. And it's working families who will have to sell off their family farm because this bill's regulations will make it financially impossible for them to pass their businesses on to their family. The Democrats are making a promise they cannot keep. They're telling working Americans they can be the beneficiaries of vast new spending programs for preschool, childcare, paid family leave, paid medical leave, college, workforce training, and someone will pay for it all. The promise utterly defies our economic realities. Our national debt is almost $30 trillion, while Medicare and Social Security face nearly $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities and will be bankrupt in some estimations in the next 5 years. These are debts that are catastrophic, especially for young generations that will get stuck with these unpayable bills. It is entirely irresponsible to ram through trillions of dollars in new socialist schemes when we're drowning in debt from our existing commitments. You cannot resist economic reality forever.